Hato, my name is Ben Bingham and I'm the director of the Eastern Shawnee Tribe's Native Connection SAMHSA program. SAMHSA stands for Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Today I'm here to talk to you about what a shawl is, how it's made, and provide a demonstration on how to make one. A shawl is important to our culture because we often give them to women as signs of gratitude and respect. A shawl is used by both women and girls at powwow and ceremonial dances. A shawl is made from a variety of fabrics and features colored fringe along its edges. A fancy shawl features beadwork and/or applique and colored fringe along its edges. With a little help from Kelly Nelson, we're going to provide a demonstration on crafting a shawl. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kelly, and I work here in the Eastern Shawnee Cultural Preservation Department. I'm a member of the Eastern Shawnee Tribe, and Ben asked me to help demonstrate how to make a shawl. And I'm going to do that to the best of my ability. I am not a professional seamstress, but I have made a lot of regalia for my grandkids and family members, and just stuff that I've been shown over the years and kind of hand on down to them. First, you need to pick a piece of material. There's different kinds of fabric that you can use. You can use cotton, which is what we're going to use today. And back in the day, they used a lot of like polyester, gabardine, that type of material. Probably before that, a lot of wool. They probably used what they had at the time. So there's different ways to measure your material. You can either start with just do an average, 60 by 60 or a 45 by 45 inch piece of material and hem it and go from there. But what I normally do is, if I'm making it, say, for my granddaughter, and she's younger, she's going to need a shorter shawl. You won't want one that drags the ground. And so we kind of measure, and I'm just going to throw this behind me here, from fingertip to fingertip, and then add a few inches for your seams. This is then if your arms are straight out like this and they're standing, you can kind of see, and then they'll be able to wrap it around them and it will fit them. Of course, it adds length when you add the fringe to it. So this particular piece of material will probably be made for, say, a teenager or a smaller person. It has a 45-inch selvage on it, which means the width of the material is just 45 inches. Normally a 60-inch one would be better for adults. So then what we did is we just measured it, and I believe this one is 60 by 45 is what we're doing. So another important factor is to get your material square. And I'm going to probably move around a little bit on the camera, but I'll try to explain this as best as I can. If you hold your material, fold it in half, and then I'm just going to kind of fold this here so we can get to the bottom. You see how this side is longer than this side on here? We'll need to cut some of this off to square that up. You just want to make sure that when you're doing it up here and holding it up, that you have your, I'm going to have to stand to do this here. So you want to make sure that your sides are together. And this one isn't going to show exact right at the moment because I've already ironed one side of the fabric, so it would make sewing it a little bit easier. But if you do that and you have your middle and all of it lays flat when you're holding it up, then you would have about this much that you would have to cut off to make sure you have a good square piece of fabric. And once you do that, then you're ready to start hemming it. You always want to make sure that your material is washed and dried and pressed before you start. That way, once you get it sewed, if there's any shrinkage, you don't want, a lopsided lopsided shawl. So, and I don't know if you can see right here, but I went ahead and I just did a 1/4 inch hem, turned it under, put it under again, and then I ironed it as to hold it into place. You can pin it when you're doing that if you want to hold it more. I usually just put it together and just kind of go with it. If you want to, you know, get real particular, pin it. You can take the pins out as you sew, and you'll get you a good, nice seam on there. The other thing that you can do is decide whether you want to sew it just a straight sewing stitch, or excuse me, if you would like to, you can also zigzag it and use different colors of thread, just kind of make it a little more decorative that way. So I've already threaded the machine and got it ready to roll. I am going to, since I have it pressed and flipped under already, I'm going to sew on the top side. And you just want to have a good, you know, 1/4 to 1/2 inch seam here. Oh my gosh. And you always want to, when you're starting your stitches, you want to come forward and you want to make sure you reverse. That way your seam doesn't come out. And then you're just going to sew a straight line. And you're going to go all the way down the length of the shawl, making sure that your seams are turned in. And you want to try to sew as straight as possible. You know, we all can't always sew straight. I might get a little weave in here every once in a while, but we just kind of go with it and hope for the best. And we're going to, because of time restraints and just actually sewing, a shawl takes a lot of time. The sewing, the hemming it, that's the easy part. But the tying of the fringe can sometimes take days. It just depends on how long you have to work on it. Sometimes if you have more than one person working on it, it goes a lot faster. We've done that before. We've sat around the campfire at powwow sewing fringe, or maybe even sometimes down at the arena watching dances, and we're all tying our fringe. Okay, so now we have one whole side hemmed, and I'm just gonna run down this other side real quick. That way, and then we'll start showing how to tie the fringe on. Okay, so once you have the outside hem and you're ready to start tying your fringe on, usually I measure with my pinky and I space them out a pinky's width, and you don't have to be perfect about it, but you need something sharp that you can poke a hole through the fabric. You don't want to use something you want to use something round, because you don't want to use scissors or something that's actually going to cut the threads of the fabric. You're just going to poke a hole in them, and you're going to start and you're going to poke every pinky's width, and you can do this several ways. You can lay it down and you can lay your pinky out and you can take a little marker or pen and you can measure it, or you can just kind of eyeball it, which is kind of what I'm doing. You just want them to be as uniform and as close to the same width apart. Once you have these poked in there, it just makes it a lot easier for your needle or your crochet hook, whichever you're using, to put your fringe through that little hole. Like I said, we're not going to complete the shawl today, but we're going to show you the basics and how to get started, and then when we're done tying some fringe, we will show you a completed shawl that was made pretty much in the same process, to give you an idea of what your completed project would look like. Okay, so as I'm poking these holes through here, and I'm trying to keep them in an even line and about a pinky's width apart, and you could put them, I mean, if you wanted a really heavy fringed shawl, you could put them right next to each other. I mean, you could butt it right up against the other one, or if you didn't want quite so much, you could spread it out further and use like a thumb's width. It's just your own personal preference and how much fringe you have, how big of a shawl you're doing. All of that plays into it. Now today I'm using, this is actually a kitchen item, which is a corn on the cob holder, but I bent one of the ends off of it, so I would just have one straight point to make my holes with. I have an old, probably a 1940s or 30s ice pick at home that I use to make the holes with. I've also used a crochet needle and filed the end of it to a point, so I'm just putting it through it all in one process, poking the crochet hook through, putting the fringe on it, and pulling it back through. Unfortunately, I left that at home today, so today we're going to be using some tapestry needles, or like a yarn needle or a darning needle, and it will have a big enough head on it to put the fringe through, and then we will put it through the holes that are already made. And the reason for making your holes first is the fringe is pretty thick, so if you just try to put it through the needle and push it through, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to be putting some muscle into it. You're going to have sore fingers by the time you get done. So if you take something, or you can buy an awl, they're sold at any sewing and craft store, and you can use that to poke your holes with. We've just always kind of went with what we had lying around. And so I guess I should mention Ben's sitting over here being nice and quiet, but he is separating the fringe for me, and I'm gonna stop poking holes right now, and then we're gonna go ahead and start tying some fringe to it. The fringe we're using is 18 inch, and I think they call this chainette. You can it comes like this, so it's pre-cut. You can also buy spools of fringe, and I think, Ben, didn't you get these online? Maybe Crazy Caro or something like that. And they have a variety of colors. We just kind of went with the green and blue today, so it would show up good on video, and it's bright and easy to see. So if you're using a needle, you're going to take your your fringe, and you're just going to poke it through the eye. And you will see how I'm struggling poking it through the eye is why I like to use a crochet hook, because it eliminates this process. And you could use a needle threader or something to make this a little bit quicker of a process too. But once you have your fringe on your needle, you just poke it through your already made hole, and see, even that hole is kind of difficult. Now here is you just want to hang on to one end of it and pull the other one all the way through. So once you have the thread through the hole, there's several different ways that you can tie it. You want to put your ends together so you have a pretty good even, you have them even at the bottom. And you just want to make a basic knot as close to the fabric as you can get, and make sure you put all of it together, trying to keep it straight. And there you go. There's your first knot and your first piece of fringe through there. And I'll do a few more of these real quick just to show you. So Dallery is my granddaughter, and she's 8, and she's helping me today put the fringe through the needles, because my hands get tired and it's hard to pull it through there, and because she needs to learn how to make her own shawls one day.
Do you need some help?
And so we just got to poke it through. See if there's some see. Tables look good. Okay, Dallery, do you have a piece of fringe for me already loaded? And we're going to put that through the hole. Did you want to put it through the hole? Yeah. Okay. Where we've poked the hole, see there's one right there. Poke it through there, all the way through. And grab it on the other side. And pull it through. Now see how your fingers are slipping off of that needle? Take this piece of leather and wrap it around it, and like that. And it didn't slide. So the next one I'll let you, I didn't think it was going to pull all the way through. And we're going to pull one piece of this through and pull the needle off. And then you're going to have to do the next one, alright? Because we're going to make those straight like this. And then you know how to tie a knot, right? Just wrap it around. I use the 2 fingers so I can poke it through here and here. You see that? Pull that out. Whoops. Gigi messed up. Or make a circle and pull it through. How about that? Is that better? And then just pull it taut. So you've got one threaded. Alright, right through that hole, right there. And pull it all the way through. Pull. If your fingers are slipping, get your leather. And just grip it tight and pull. Whoops. Okay, sometimes you gotta wiggle it back and forth. Now try. Okay, you ready? Yay, you got it. Okay, now stop right there. Because if you keep pulling, you're going to pull both of these through. So get a hold of one of these, and I'll hold on to the other end. And pull it all the way through.
This?
Yep, just pull. Now pull your needle off. Alright. Now pull these down together. There you go. Now then come up here. Keep them straight. Yep. And then come up here and tie a knot.
So I just...
So you can take it and just make you a circle like this. You can lay it up here if you can't see, or you can lay it down and just make a loop like that. Lay those down. And then right here in your loop, pull those up through it. And okay. Alright, so Valerie's going to poke this one through. Very good. See how just putting it halfway up, pull your needle out. And it made it a little bit easier to come out, didn't it? So I'm going to go ahead and tie it. I feel like I'm all thumbs today. So you can see what we've got here going. I'm not having a very good. So when you complete it, you're going to have all 4 sides completed. And your fringe is going to be just hanging and flowing, and it really adds to the color of the shawl. It just makes it hang really pretty. So after you would tie all 4 sides of this, all 4 sides, you would get a finished product that would look like this.
And that concludes our video. I would like to thank everyone for watching. I'd like to thank Kelly and her granddaughter for assisting in this demonstration. If you have any questions, feel free to call 918-238-5151, extension 1860. And if you would be interested in learning how to make a shawl, contact me and we may put on a small class with social distancing at the Eastern Shawnee Tribe. Thank you.